What is going on, everybody? And today we're going to make a to-do app in Xcode. And so first things first, we're going to create a new project, make it a single view app. I'm going to call it to-do tutorial and hit next, create. So now the first thing we're going to want to do is get this image. I'll leave a link to it in the comments below, or if you have your own image for a check mark. This is a 40 pixels by 40 pixels image. We're gonna go to our assets and just drag it over. So now that's in there. We don't have to worry, we can make this full screen. And we're gonna go to our storyboard. So first we're just gonna want a table view to display our data. So we can just do that, like drag a table view, put it over. And also with the table view, you need to drag over a table view cell. Now in this cell, we want to give it a reuse identifier as to-do cell. And that will come in handy later. So next, we're going to want a label, it's always good to have a label, say what your app is. And we're going to make the font here 240. And then double click on that and say to-dos. And put that right there in the middle. As you can see, those lines pop up. So just try to go along them. So next we want a button, and that will go up here. And the same thing will go down to our text, and we can make that size 30. Double click that and say add. So next we're going to want to add some constraints. So we can do that. So do 0 on the left, right, and bottom. And then we're going to go to our to-dos. And we're going to say 8 and 37. And just do height and width here. And also if we go to this one, we're going to want to vertically center it so it stays there in the middle. No, sorry, do not want vertically center. We want horizontally. So add that. We can, let's clear those actually. And we can go back and we're going to want to horizontally center. So that will keep it directly in the middle. And we want it 8 and 37 high, and keep the height and width and add those. And here we're just going to say add missing constraints. So now we're going to run this on an XS Max, and all we should see is our label, the add, and an empty table view. And that's exactly what we have here. So perfect. So now we have to write some code. So go to our view controller. I'm going to make this a little bigger. And here we're going to say UI table view delegate, because we want this class view controller to be the delegate for our table view that we dragged over. And we also want this to be the data source for the table view. So now we're going to get an error saying it doesn't conform to protocol. So do you want to add protocol stubs? We'll say yes, fix, and it'll give us these two functions, which I'm just going to copy and paste below our view did load. So now we have these two functions they give us that we have to fill out in order for our app to run. So the first one is the number of rows in section. So that's just saying how many of these rows do we want to fill up. For now, we can just say return 10. So we'll display 10 items. And another function we want is the number of sections. So if we start typing in number of sections, will pop up. And we only want one section of rows since we just have the to-dos. And so now we'll have one section of 10 items, but still nothing will happen. So now we have this last one that says cell for row at. So here you want to say, this is where you're going to declare all the data and the way you're going to display the cell, load in each cell on the table view. So we say let cell equal table view, which is this variable right there, dot DQ reusable cell with identifier. Now this identifier is what we said before as to-do cell. So we're going to take the to-do cell and say to-do cell. And for the index path is this index path right there. And say index path. And then you want to return the cell. So now this will run, but there's going to be nothing shown because we're just showing an empty cell, but we're not going to have any errors. And the important thing is to say for the identifier to make sure it matches what you called it here in the identifier. So now we want to do a couple more things. So we want each cell to have an image. So you're going to take an image and make sure it goes into this blue area here. And we're just going to drag it down. And I want this to end up being 40 by 40. Boom. And I can't get it exactly, so we'll just go here, do height 40. So that will put that in there. And we also want another label, which we can put here. We're going to make the text size of 30. And we're just going to resize it a little bit. And make it long, because we're going to have some longer text. And put that just like that. And also, we're going to hit Command and in here say add missing constraints. So now, all we have here is this image and label, but how do we get access to any of this stuff? We're going to come here and press this with the two little circles, and that's going to bring up on both sides our storyboard and our code here. So the first thing we want is our table view. So we're going to hit Control drag on the table view, and we'll call this to do table view. So now up here we said we are a UITableView delegate and data source. So in our view did load, we're going to say to do table view dot delegate is equal to self. So we're saying that this view controller is the delegate for that table view. And we're going to do the same thing for that table view dot data source is equal to self. So now we're also going to want to extend UI table view cell. So that way we can access the cell. And it's not liking that. Okay, sorry, we don't want to do that. because I believe we can just access it that way. Sorry, we don't have to bring it at all. Being the table view delegate and data source, we automatically get it. So we'll call this to do label, and we will call that checkmark image. So now we have access to that label and the image. So now we want certain things to happen for each cell. So we want in the cell each to do, and when we click, we're gonna set that image to a check mark. So if we go back here to our cell for row at, we have our cell. So now we can just say cell dot, we're gonna set to do label. Actually, this is how we're gonna do this. We're gonna get rid of this right here, get rid of those two, and we're gonna say file, new file, new Cocoa Touch, and we're gonna want it to be of type UITableView cell. So make sure you come over to this drop down and select table view cell, and we're gonna call this to do cell, and we want to put it in here. So now if we go to our storyboard, this is very important, we come to our to do cell and we go to this icon here where it says class, and from the drop down menu we're going to select that class we just made. So now if I hit this again, we're going to go up to here to manual, and it's going to give us a bunch of problems. So we want, it's going to be annoying. Recent files. To do cell.swift. There we go. So now if we have our storyboard, so now we're going to do that same thing we just did before, but put them into the to do cell. So we're going to call it the same thing, to do label and checkmark image. Checkmark image. I must have clicked on the, there we go. Checkmark image. So now, if we go back to our other view controller, and you can see here, we have our table view for row at. So right here. So now we want to specify that this cell is a to do cell. So we're going to say as to do cell. So now if we type in cell dot to do label dot text and set that equal to hello world, and we save that and we hit run. Ooh. Oh, have to go to our storyboard, and if we go into our images, you can see we don't want the reference to view controller. So get rid of that. So now if we run, it'll succeed, and we should have 10 hello worlds. Perfect. So another thing I'm going to do, we're going to only be in the view controller. I'm going to specify to do table view dot row height is equal to 80, and that will just make our cells a little bigger. So now we want some to do, so we'll say var to-dos and put the colon and the brackets and say string is equal to the brackets again, and we'll say get groceries, pick up grandma, and go to the gym. So now we have 3 items in here. So instead of returning 10 now, we're going to want to make sure we return the number of to-dos. So to-dos.count. And now, instead of saying the text to hello world, we're going to say to-dos and grab the index path dot row. So now there should only be 3 rows with each of those indexes. And there we go. Get groceries, pick up grandma, go to the gym. Awesome. So now we want to say function did select row at. Did select row at. So now we're going to say let cell equal table view dot cell for row at, and we have index path here, and we can just say again index path, and we need to cast it like we did here as to do cell. So I'll just copy and paste that here as to do cell. So now we want to we're going to add a variable in here actually, and it'll be of a bool, so true or false, and we'll say is checked, and we'll start it off as false, and those errors should go away. So we're going to first check if cell dot is checked equals false. So if is checked is false, we are going to set the checkmark image dot image equal to UI image named checkmark .png. Now this should be whatever you called yours if you didn't get mine from the description. And now we want to tell is checked to be equal to true. And now in here we're just going to say else cell.checkmarkImage.image is equal to nil to get rid of the image, and cell.is checked equal to false. So now we should be able to have a check mark for our image. So you can see it's ugly. We'll fix that in a second, but you can see, click on it, click again, comes up. So now to fix all that being ugly, if we go to our image here, go to the attributes, and go to content mode, aspect fit is what we want. So now we want to add another to-do. So the way we'll do this, make sure we're in our view controller. We're gonna give some space here and control drag on our button, and we're gonna say add to-do and create that. So in here now, get rid of that. We're gonna set up a let to do alert is a UI alert controller. And then if you hit the parenthesis, the opening parenthesis, go to this last one where it has title, message, and preferred style. So here it wants a string for the title, and we're gonna say add to do. The message is gonna say add a new to do. And if you go to this one and just say dot alert. And now we're also going to do alert dot add text field. And now that will give it a way for you to enter text when it pops up. So we're also going to say let add to do action is equal to a UI alert action parentheses, and the title is going to say add. So that's what the button that's going to be made. It says action, so the action is the little button that will pop up. So the title is going to be add, and it's going to be .default. And now here it says UI alert action void. If you just tab over to this, hit enter, we'll call this action, lowercase, action. And in here, we're going to say let new to do equal to do alert dot text fields, and we need to put an exclamation point to unwrap it and say 0. So now we're going to want to do to-dos dot append, and we're going to get a new element, and that's going to be the new to-do dot text, and then unwrap that again with an exclamation point. So now that adds whatever we type in to the text field, it gets the text and puts it into our array up here. And this is called a closure right here. So we need to say self, just saying this class is to do. So now we're gonna want to be able, when we hit it, it's gonna pop up, and then it needs to reload the data in. So when you hit reload data, these are called again. So when this gets called again, it'll add in that new to do that we just added. So we're going to say self dot to do table view dot reload data. So now we're going to have a cancel. So let cancel action equal UI alert action again. And this time we just want a title, which is going to say cancel dot default, and we don't need a handler. And now we want to add those actions to the alert dot add action. We're going to do our add to do action and do the same for the cancel action. And now when the button is pressed, we want to present this controller. So we're going to hit present, and you see here we have a view controller to present is this. So the controller we want to present is the to-do alert. Animated is true, and completion is nil. So if we save that and hit run, it'll build here, and we get this. We can click on them. You can see our arrow, our check mark is fixed because we said aspect fit. We hit add, this pops up, and we can say this is a new to do, and you can hit add and it pops up. If we hit add, hit cancel, just gets rid of it. And now we just want to be able to delete, so we're going to do it that you can slide to delete. So the way you do that, we'll go down here, and if you type in function and you say for row at, this will pop up. So now you can see there's the table view, the editing style, and an index path. And the editing style by default is .delete. So if you say if editing style equals .delete, we can say to-dos .remove at index path .row. And we're going to want to reload the table view again. So to-do UITableView.reload data. So if we run this again, go here, you can have that. And now if we swipe, we can delete. We just hold it a little bit, this will pop up, can hit delete, and now we can add, new, to do, add, and now you have a fully functioning to-do app. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. And if you have any suggestions for what you want to see next, let me know, and have a great day. See ya.